Hey comrades, it's William Morrison here, your British Marxist-Leninist and anti-imperialist based in Scotland, and this is going to be a quick video on why democracy is not universal. So I'm a student, I'm taking politics and international relations, and I just came out of a lecture and pretty much the main takeaway was that the only democratic or free societies in the world are those that follow Western liberal democracy. And I was trying to argue that other countries in the world are not as civilized, not as developed, not as advanced as us in the West, and that therefore they cannot be true democratic countries. And that is based on the idea of universalism, that there is one definition of democracy and one dogmatic format to follow democracy on. And I don't believe that to be true. I don't think that just because in the Western world, the philosophies that we follow tend to proclaim that yes, democracy is freedom of speech, it's freedom of the press, it's the right to vote, it's the right to oppose the government, it's the right to worship freely whoever you want. Those are the philosophically classical liberal ideas that are attached to our democracy. And that is because it's attached and tailored to our cultures here in the West. But that isn't the case for everyone. For example, in the Islamic world, in the Arab and Middle East, in the Islamic world, they have a completely different perception of authority and power and democracy and what freedom is to them. Same in China. That lecture tried to teach us that China is an evil, dictatorial, authoritarian country, they're not to be trusted, and they are the enemy of democracy. Well, that might be the case. Maybe they are the enemy of Western liberal democracy, but my point is here that democracy is not one static thing. It's not a monolith. It isn't a definitive thing. Different peoples and communities and cultures all around the world have different definitions of what a democratic society looks like. There isn't one definitive definition of democracy. So if you ask a Chinese person or a Chinese person or if you look at Chinese culture, they would say that a free democratic society is a society where the people of that country are governed by an instrument of government that takes care of them. It's almost kind of a benevolent dictatorship. Or a friendly authoritarian power. That is democracy to Chinese culture. A lot of Han Chinese people with that kind of culture think that they do live in a democratic and free society. Freedom in that they're safe, they're looked after, their basic needs are provided for them by the state. That is freedom to them. The access to education, the access to a good education, the access to good healthcare, a society that helps the disabled and vulnerable, a huge care system, a very compassionate society. That's the Chinese society. That is freedom to them. So yeah, they might not be able to vote for a different political party. They might not be able to protest as freely as we might be able to do in the West. But that Chinese culture they don't view that as, oh, well, we're imprisoned and we're under the thumb of brutal authoritarianism. They actually think that that's why the Chinese Communist Party have an over 85% approval rating in China. If you asked most Chinese people, they'd probably say that they believe that they are living in a peaceful and democratic and free society because they are safe. They are free from risk and threat to society. They are free. They don't have to worry about crime. Crime is extremely low in China. So the elderly can go out at night. Women can dress and wear whatever they want, and they don't have to be scared of predatory men because men are educated by a good education system about consent and about stuff like that. China is a very, very safe country, and that is because of their cultural teachings. So my point is that democracy is not universal. Democracy looks different in every different country, and democracy should be tailored to the material conditions of different countries. Like socialism, as a Marxist-Leninist, there isn't a universal definition of what Marxism-Leninism looks like. Different countries, based on that country's history and material conditions, they will have a different type of Marxism-Leninism. Here in Britain, the CPGBML, our aim for Britain is a federative socialist British republic. That's what we want. Scotland, Wales, and England will be a unified federative socialist republic. That's our vision, and that is based on the historical and economic conditions of the British Isles. In China, of course, a democratic society is where the people are looked after and safe and don't have to worry about security and health. That stuff is provided for them. It's safety from hunger. It's safety from discrimination. It's safety from war. It's safety from violence. That is they are things that Chinese people don't really need to worry about. It's provided for them. They're safe from that. So there's different perceptions of democracy, and that is a good thing. There's a multiplicity of definitions of what democracy looks like. So that is a good thing. That should be supported. So if you are a university student and you're taking politics, please just ignore that lecture. When you're doing global challenges or when you're looking at international relations, don't just believe what your lecturers are saying because they're lecturers and they're academics. Challenge them. Actually challenge them. And I mean, I'm notorious now in my tutorials and stuff like that for defending for socialist and anti-imperialist states. And I'd argue that, Bolivia and Venezuela are democratic countries because the Bolivarian movement have a different perception of what democracy looks like. So don't compare other countries and the political systems of other countries. Don't compare that to Western liberal democracy. Western liberal democracy is a thing in the West. That doesn't mean that other countries with completely different perceptions, histories, and cultures should adopt that too. And year after year, war after war, nation after nation, colour revolution after colour revolution, coup d'etat after coup d'etat, we have learned that forcing liberal democracies onto other countries has not worked. The Arab Spring movement from 2011 onwards. If you look at the governments of these countries that were massively affected by the Arab Spring, most of them have reverted back to a more Islamic authoritarian type system. Naturally, inevitably, that was going to happen. These democratic liberal democracies didn't stick in the Arab world because it was unnecessary. They didn't want it. And naturally, they reverted back to the way things were before, which is the way people want it in the Arab world. The country least affected by the Arab Spring, Oman, is one of the most successful countries in that region. They have trade routes with India, Russia, China. They have close ties with both America and China. I mean, they get the best of both worlds, and that's because they didn't stand for these colour revolutions that wanted to oust their governments, often popular governments. So we've seen that forcing other countries to adopt Western liberal democracy does not work. It should be rejected and resisted, and we should respect that democracy will look differently in other countries based on that country's difference of culture, history, and material conditions. So that's all. Democracy should be tailored to different countries. There is no universal dogmatic way to follow democracy. Democracy is fluid, it's different, and that is a good and healthy thing for global politics. So thank you.